Hey everyone, we're live here in Nourish, Heal, and Thrive, and we have Lora Danielson with us today. I'm really excited to get to know her. She just joined the group through another group, and she does some great things. She's a guide and a healer, and I'm really excited to hear your story. So, Laura, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, so tell us, uh, tell us who you are and where you're from and what you do.
So my name is Laura. I'm an energy guide and healer, like you said. I live in British Columbia, Canada, and it's just a beautiful day as you see behind me here. It's just I live in the forest off the grid, and it's been an amazing experience, especially like on that healing path and that healing journey, taking yourself outside of the other energies can be very helpful because we don't even realize how much we actually absorb the energies of the people around us. So, um, I've been through quite a bit. I'll go back a little bit further than just the start of where I am at today, but about 2014, my appendix burst. And so uh, it was burst in my body between about 4 and 6 days, and most people survive about 12 hours. Um, they had to thicken my blood because initially when I went to the hospital, they told me that I had a blood clot and put me on blood thinners. And I was at home for a week on blood thinners in severe amount of pain until finally I started throwing up blood and ended up back in the hospital. So when I got back to the hospital, they were like, "Oh, we need to operate on you today." And I'm like, "Well, you can't." And so they spent 3 days thickening my blood so they could actually operate on me. And when they operated on me, they said, "Well, there's a good chance that you're not going to wake up in the morning." And I said, "Well, you've given me the opportunity that either I'm going to pass away in my sleep or I'm going to, have a chance and do it on the table." I was like, I guess I'll take my chances on the table because they had basically told me that I was out of time. Um, at that point, I ended up in PTSD and survivor's guilt. And I've been struggling with a pain disorder for most of my life. From the time I was probably about 16 was when it kind of started to, I noticed that my hands would go numb and I would just throw things across, I'd be brushing my hair and all of a sudden like smack my sister across the room with a hairbrush kind of thing. And and so it had kind of progressed over time. It had its ups and downs, very much stress contributed. Um, but of course I was just working on living my life. I wasn't concentrating on it. And of course that, kind of maybe turned my head towards away from the healing part of aspect of what was being, going on in my body. A couple years after that, all the scar tissue started to crush my intestines. So I ended up having to have a full hysterectomy because my uterus was destroyed. It was crushing, my intestines, and they could take the intestines and leave the uterus, but it just seemed like unlikely that would be the right way to go. So everybody poops. Right? Um, so again, I ended up back in that PTSD kind of momentum, and like my pain disorder started to again like get really bad. I went through a year in between 2016 and 2017 where I lost a lot. I lost about 9 people in 11 months to cancer and just odd things actually. Really, my aunt hit her head and died 2 weeks later. At Christmas time, one of my friends had went to Mexico and he had gotten a flu while he was down there and it started causing seizures, and it for somehow he fractured his spine during a seizure, and after they operated on his back, the medicines that they gave him for the fever as well as his spine ended up taking his life, and he was only 30 at that time. So it was just a really difficult year, and it kind of sent me spiraling. I just found myself at the parties and everything else. My relationship of 9 years disintegrated, so my family essentially was gone because I raised his 2 daughters for 9 years. And then all of a sudden they were just all gone. And I lost so many more to death in that year that I just found myself collapsing underneath the pressure. And, I found myself in a world of drugs and alcohol and so many different things. I pulled myself out of all of that, but the pain never subsided. And so in about 2020, I ended up like bedridden 2 or 3 times because I was still working through it. Like I was still holding a job and working full time, 8 to 10 hours a day. And by the end of it, my body just couldn't take it. So I found myself like being bedridden for weeks at a time at that point. And by 2022, the later 2021 and into 2022, I found myself bedridden completely. And I would need help to the bathroom. I'd need help to get out. Anytime I had a good day, my boyfriend was, an amazing soul. He would take me out and away we would go on our next adventure. But we would never know when that good day would come again. And they were getting further and further few between. Um, we had a whole bunch of other series of, I felt like Lemony Snicket for a while in his series of unfortunate events. And, a few other events kind of led to us building our own mini home on wheels and being able to go out and travel until our vehicle broke. And now we've kind of stuck where we're at, but we're getting there, but it was the start of this fantastic journey because in having to leave our space and find a new home and whatever, it took us away from all of the I guess the stress, all of like just we kind of took our way from public. We started this journey with no service, no power, no water. We legit found ourselves in the middle of a forest with no amenities and nothing but but each other, and we're both still alive. So that says we've done pretty good together. But spending that much time in silence with somebody, really shows you who they are. And and luckily, we turned out to be good people. So but it really, for the first 8 months of being in no service, I was still suffering in just as tremendous amounts of pain. And, like I say, on the good days, we would find ourselves finding our way through hiking, love to explore old mines, have so many rocks and beautiful things that we found in, the abandoned mines that we found and some of the amazing places that I was, visiting through, because if I'm going to live in all this pain on my good days, I want to experience something amazing. And that's what we would do. And when I'd finally, like, I remember just stepping out of my house and throwing my hands up and being like, I can't do this. Like, this isn't life. I've always been a thinker. The gabapentin that they had me on had taken my brain and turned it to mush. I had no focus, no memory, no balance. I like physically the physical response as well as the emotional and mental response to that drug like pretty much was ending my life. And it wasn't taking away the pain, it was just causing more stress because now where I would normally, I had plans to work online, create a marketing platform. I had started my business as a marketer as I just come out of university college for got my business and marketing management diploma, travel and tourism certificate. Like my mind was my asset where my body was failing. So to lose my mind in the midst of that was heartbreaking, and I didn't know where to go from there. We would drive. It was 30 kilometers to any type of service. So when we would go into town, we'd take our time and shower, do laundry, scroll Facebook. And I had made a decision that I was going to see my parents. And at that point, and something that I've still never said to them, that was going to be my last visit to them because I didn't see a future for myself and I couldn't be the light. And I've always been that light. I've always wanted to elevate people and lift people up. And even in my darkest moments, I always found the light so I could say, hey, look, I've been through all of this too. And, here's a bittersweet turn on events and, and here's a positive perspective on everything that's happened for me and come to me in this life. And, and I was always big on helping others see that same light for themselves. And in that 2 years of being bedridden, I didn't have that. And I couldn't find it within myself anymore to bring that light. And I decided that if I wasn't a light, I didn't want to be on this planet no more. So I screenshotted this thing called the Superconscious Recode. And, without any expectation, and I screenshot this and it happens to fall on the 5 days that we're going to visit my parents. So if you can't call for any like synchronistic events that were meant to take place, I found it in those moments. And on day 3 of that event, he did the whole visualization thing. And when I visualized my future, the only thing that came through was pain-free. Everything else was black. I didn't see a future. So I was like, I'm doing this thing. And he's like, okay, here's the visualization. So that's what we did the second day. And then on the third day, he's like, okay, now we're going to do the recode part of it. And I remember sitting there and he's like, okay, just give permission. for this healing to take place, and and see what comes. And then he's like, I'm going to speak to your super conscious. And I was like, well, this guy's Looney Tunes. and, and I kind of set my phone down, like not even like my attention was gone at that point, and that is why my deepest belief of what I can do for others and what I have learned through all of this means so much to me, because in that desperate moment where I was like, there's no way this is going to do anything for me, and I didn't even listen to the words that were coming out of his mouth, but I did the important part. I did the visualization. I gave the permission to myself and to him for this healing. And as he's done talking, it felt like bubbles. It literally just like bloop bloop bloop, like when you see like bubbles in the water kind of like burst up. It felt like that within my body. And I kind of did one of these like kind of I'm like, I can feel my hands. I hadn't felt my hands in the truest sense since I was about 16 years old. Um, there was reversing a little bit when I was finally diagnosed with fibromyalgia. They had said that I also had carpal tunnel, and they felt that the only pain that they knew for sure that they could take away was by operating on my wrists to get rid of some of the carpal tunnel. When I went in for the surgery, he put 5 freezing needles into my hand, and I could still do this. And he's like, well, I can't operate on you. And I'm like, but this is the best that it gets. What do you mean that you can't operate? He goes, you can still move. If you move while I'm operating, you could lose your like use of your hand completely. So that's how long I had lived with like numb hands and being able to function without like the actual my nervous system being completely dismantled at that point, not destroyed obviously, because it's like back and and I can feel and everything's fine, but that was like the extent. So all of a sudden my fingers aren't numb, my hands don't hurt, and I'm like, well, that's you like instantly, like the shoulders went back, and the smile kind of hit my face. No clue what he said. No, like I literally took everything free of the Superconscious Recode and magnetic minds that I could find for months, because I just wanted to memorize the words. And then I practiced about a month after the pain had lifted, and I was like, I want to do this for people. So I practiced what I learned, and I cured my fear of heights and then my fear of falling, because I'm like, oh, I'm not scared of heights. I'm going to go jump out of a plane. I get on a diving board and I'm frozen, and I'm like, how am I going to jump out of a plane? I'm like, I'm not scared to be up here. I could look around and look down. And as soon as I went to take that step, I'm like, well, obviously fear of heights is different than your fear of falling. So, stem from different places. So again, I sat on this diving board and I did went through all the verbiage and the knowledge, and everything that I had done before, and popped off the diving board. And I've just kind of continued from there. From there, I got my mastery in energy healing, and it can basically view and manipulate energy with colors. It brought me into a whole different world that I never expected. I read auras and chakras, and I can do past life readings, and like everything that kind of came with me lifting my pain and actually embracing the energetics of life has made what I do even that much more proficient, because I don't just go in and hope that it's taking place. I watch it take place. And it's an amazing experience. For myself, even to actually get to see the difference that I'm making, but then to, when I do finally open my eyes at the end of a healing, to see the aura shift and the change in somebody's face is, it's changed my world for sure.
It's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing. That's really, really cool. So you had this miraculous healing, and then you just totally dove into all this, but you didn't even believe in any of it before, right?
None of it. And even in getting into that class, and this is why it's been interesting, because I've had a few people that have come to me that I don't believe in any of this, and I get to say that that's okay. It is okay not to believe in it. And I am only so driven by it, and I stand behind what I do with such 100% confidence and certainty, because I was in the space of, I didn't believe, and I was ready to end my life.
Yeah. Yeah, so tell us, besides the physical things that are different for you, what else is better in your life?
Absolutely everything. When I wake up in the morning, it's another beautiful day. where I used to dread waking up in the morning, and not just the physicality of it, but like the depression that hit, the sadness, the anxiety, the unknown became a fear because I didn't feel like it could get better. So to wake up every morning and it's like, oh, who do I get to share this with today? Who could, like who can I uplift today? Who can I make smile today? And it's an amazing place to be when you've suffered with depression, anxiety, and all of it coming from the pain, and they're feeling like there was never an end in sight. And to be able to wake up just every morning, just excited to face the day, to excited to see who you're going to come across and share your story with, that it's going to make a difference and and uplift somebody. I just had a squirrel or ground squirrel go for a run into my foot. So that was a giggle. A little unexpected. Um, but and you know, in the decision to stay, because as my pain lifted, like there, I contemplated going back to the city, and I contemplated going back into, just like kind of a regular state of living. And as time has kind of progressed, I realized that, like maybe there might be a time where I might go closer to the city, but nature is absolutely the place to be. Like the energy and the power that just comes from being in the silence and paying attention to the birds. The first aura that I actually was able to see with my eyes open was of birds. And it was so cool to watch these two. It went from like yellow and orange into like this vibrant, almost like phoenix type red, and I was like, ooh, they're gonna have babies. So yeah, but yeah, like just the emotional state, and not no and recognizing that life is for us, not to us, in the whole shift of perspective, that energy cannot be created or destroyed, which means that when we pass from these bodies, we don't just disappear. And and it took on a whole new meaning, and it brightened my world, because to have all of that death and all of this loss that I experienced leading, in the years prior to this, that wasn't just that 1 year that was filled with loss. From the time I was 4, I just felt like it wasn't just like I felt like I lost people. It was literally like people, anybody that was close to me passed away, and that was at any age. It wasn't like just grandparents. Like it was like my best friend at 12 years old, and cousins at 21, and it was, and car accidents and those kinds of things. So it was hard to live in a world where, like, I'm like, there, I said I don't believe in hell. I believe that earth is hell, because like how can you live in a space that you're told that everybody, you're supposed to love everybody, but then they all die, right? Like there was really that place within me where there was that, that sense of dread, and to not have that anymore, to embrace life as it is, and to know and to see the energies around us, and to recognize that there's so much more around us, has made it a lot more of a joyous and happy place to be.
Yeah, I can see that, and you get excited about that. I love how bright you get when you say that, and I'm sure people come to you for different reasons, right? What do most people come to you for, and what kind of outcomes are they getting?
So for the most part, it's a lot of like either newly spiritual awakened, somebody who's just awakened and is new on their journey. A lot of times, again, because of my own story resonating with the fibromyalgia, physical pain, I've helped a lot of people with depression, and other, like on the more emotional side of the traumas. And I've had people come from I've actually surprisingly all sorts of things, like things I never expected, that people would be, people that have their gifts newly awakened, like if they've awakened like psychic gifts, because in the awakening, what I've noticed is that as our intuition awakens and lifts up, there's other different energies that show themselves, and if you haven't had, like, and I'm very blessed that I got, like, went in and got my certificate in energy healing as my gifts were elevating, because I never went through that stressful period of, oh, I don't know what I'm seeing, and I don't recognize this energy, I'm very on top of the energies that I see and able to sense, whereas a lot of newly awakened, if they haven't been sent in that same circle of journey as me, then their intuition awakens, and all of a sudden there's a fear there because they're not sure what they're experiencing. And if there's nobody else around them that's experiencing that, um, they get kind of chastised for it, and and told that they're crazy. So I've had that's kind of the people that have been really attracted to what I do. Just my ability to kind of calm down the energy, um, shift out any energies that aren't working, any cords or like past karma, past life karma, karmic within karma that's come up within this lifetime. Very quick to be able to move and shift that energy and just take you into a lighter space where you can kind of just maybe get a grasping on some of the new experiences that are coming your way. And in getting my help from, like, say, if they're not in their awakened, like if they're not on that awakened spiritual journey yet, and they come to me to elevate, or to lift that pain and to come in from a source of pain, there is a the other thing that I've seen happen was somebody that came to me, had that pain lift, and ended up kind of shot into that same type of journey as me. So now I get to guide where I had the guidance, and I have a program that takes you in through all of the steps of the process that I've experienced. And it's a 6-month program, and it kind of just walks you through like the different mindsets that can help you become more creative, how to kind of read the energy, safe space to find in meditation, and just all of the things that helped me on this journey get me to where I am today. Because my pain lifting definitely didn't just like save my life, it changed my life.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So thank you for sharing. I don't want to take too much of your time today. How can everybody find you if they want to connect with you?
My Lora L Danielson, of course, on Facebook. I also have a group called Not All Who Wander Are Lost, and it's at Far From Ordinary 81, all one word because that's what Facebook made it. And Far From Ordinary is my business name. However, I've always loved the Not All Who Wander Are Lost. So my website is notallwhowanderarlost.love.
Okay, great. So we'll have you put that in the comments here so people can get your links and they don't have to remember everything you said. Um,
Yeah.
and they can easily connect to you. So that's great. Laura, I really appreciate you taking time today. Any final words you want to leave people with?
No matter what is coming at you at life, there is always going to be an answer when you're ready for it. And being ready looks so many different ways. But for me, like I said, it was being at the end of my life. So no matter where you're at, there is a place to start. And most of all, come at yourself with love and and graciousness, like just giving yourself, um just being like, mm, all of the words just flooded my head. So, we got that still. But love, giving yourself love and grace and ease, and just knowing that you're doing the best you can with the knowledge that you have.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. It all starts with loving yourself, right?
That's right.
So thank you so much, Laura. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Again, Laura's going to put her links in the comments. So if you resonated with her, definitely uh, check her out, say hello, and, see what she has to offer. She does some amazing work, and we're really happy that she was able to share with us today. And thank you for watching. And if you like what we're doing here in Nourish, Heal, and Thrive and you want to be spotlighted, put interview in the comments and we'll spotlight you as well. And you can share your gifts, or even if you're struggling, sometimes it feels good just to come on here and share whatever you're struggling with and get some support. So again, one more time, I'm going to thank you. This was great, and we'll see everybody at the next one. Bye.